Hello, it's me, and I've got a puzzle from one of my favorite designers, and that's TwistyTex. And I can't recall where he comes from. I'm just kidding, he comes from Texas. Anyway, this is, well, let's count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 5 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's a 5 by 5 by 7. And more than that, it's actually a 5 by 5 by 7 mirror cube. Because you can see that it has different shapes. So you solve it based on shape, because every turn that you put it through, it kind of overrides or underrides the other layer that you're turning it into. Okay, so we've seen mirror cubes before, but this is a certain kind of a mirror cube, which is a mirror cuboid. And the kind of cuboid that this is, before I embark on the solve, maybe I should characterize it, so that might be able to help me. The thing that impresses me about TwistyTex is just how well his puzzles are crafted. I mean, he's got the heart of an engineer, and he really takes a lot of stock in the kind of puzzles that he makes. So it's really incredible. All of his puzzles are incredibly playable, and I'm happy to say I've got a number of his in my collection. Oh, what's going on with this? Okay, here we go. So a 5 by 5 by 7. So the cubic version, or the non-mirrored version of that, would be something like this. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 by 5 by 7. So it functions kind of the same way. Here's one by Trapum, same kind of thing. And really what this is, what all cuboids are, is they're bandaged versions of a base cube. In this case, it's a 7 by 7. The thing about this is that you have all the different layers have the same parity. So this is all odd layered parities, your 5 by 5 by 7. So when you turn a 5 layer to a 5 layer, obviously you're going to find that it doesn't really, let me see if I can pull this up here a little bit more. You're going to find that it doesn't cause any issues with shape shifting. You're able to turn it easily. Now this is with 3D printing. This is by modification. You can see with 3D printing you can kind of get this pure cube look with it, where every piece looks the same. Here you can see it's kind of skewed a little bit. And mirror cubes, of course, well, they're mirror cubes. But the thing about it is that even when you turn a 5 layer into a 7 layer, because you're moving it into the same odd layer parity, you can still do 90-degree turns. So that's why they're shapeshifters. Not ultimate shapeshifters, where all 3 layers are different layers, but they're of the same parity, like 3 by 5 by 7. This is being a 5 by 5 by 7, it's a shapeshifter. So really because you can do the 90-degree turns like that, it interacts with the kind of solve that you can do. So this is a really neat one. Anyway, so you're going to find that there's a lot of different kinds of layers with this. This is the natural progression from, if we start off with the most simple one, a 2 by 2 by 4. So a 2 by 2 by 4 is basically a 4 by 4 where you have certain layers acting like 2 by 2. So I like this, the symmetry of this. But if I turn a 2-layer parity into another even layer, 4-layer parity, I can shapeshift. So they're shapeshifters. So 2 by 2 by 4, then you can go up to the 3 by 3 by 5, same thing. You get 90-degree turns that you can do here. And of course, if you turn one parity to the same parity, you can do shapeshifting. 3 by 3 by 5, then of course you've got the 4 by 4 by 6. So this is a 4 by 4 by 6, same thing. We take a 4 by 4, move it into the 6th layer, and you can do shape-shifting here. So these are shape-shifting cuboids. So that's a natural progression there. So the 5 by 5 by 7 is actually just the next step above that. And you can go as high as you want, but they all have the same kind of characteristics. Now this is as opposed to if you take a puzzle that has one parity, and then you have a different layer that has a different parity. So instead of a 2 by 2 by 4, you have maybe a 2 by 2 by 3. So because of that, when you try to move one layer into, you can do 90-degree turns here, just the same. But if I take an even layer parity, move it into an odd layer parity, I can no longer shapeshift. So these particular cuboids are not shapeshifting cuboids, they're what I would call domino cuboids. And what they do is you have 180-degree turns in one layer, and then you can do 90-degree turns in other layers, and that's how they're scrambled, so they're not shape-shifted. The natural progression with the 3 by 3 by 5 would be, say, the 3 by 3 by 4. So same thing, take a 3 layer, move it into a 4, and they don't shape-shift. I can say the same thing for a 4 by 4 by 5. So that's this guy over here. Take a 4 layer, move it in, and it does not shape-shift. So in many ways, it's sort of different layer dominoes. And plus what you find is this layer only scrambles with this layer just scrambles with itself, and these two layers scramble with each other. So to here, these two scramble with each other, these two scramble with each other, but you don't mix these two up unless you get a mix-up cube. Same thing with this. So they're fun, interesting solves. The equivalent of the domino version of the 5x5 series is not the 5x5x7, but a 5x5x6, like this big guy over here. So if I take a 5 layer and then I move it into a 6 layer, it does not shapeshift, which means these two scramble with each other, these two scramble with each other, and these two scramble with each other. So as I'm doing my scramble with that would be my approach to solving. So such a fascinating variety of different kinds of cuboids and how they respond to each other. So let's see, let's put these off in the background here. We'll do the shape shifting with the dominoes. Let's see. Okay, so not really organized too well, but anyway, so to solve this, what we would do is we would first want to scramble it, but because it's a shapeshifter, scrambling it shouldn't be much of a problem. Now, you shouldn't get too many parity problems because in reality, you're not changing parities at all when you're scrambling it. Basically, you've got one layer parity and you're scrambling it with another layer parity, even if it's a higher order. So what I'm going to do first is let's see what this is like to scramble. All right, it's the point of no return. I have to continue scrambling and then solving it. Okay, so once I've done that, then I can start to do 90-degree turns in other directions. So I'm going to go to here, do 90-degree turns here, so 90-degree turn here, come across here. Still trying to separate layers out. All right, so this is amazing. It looks like modern art. You can probably set this up on your table or something, have it sitting there as a conversation piece, and people would wonder, what is that? It's like a toy that you can just play around with. Anyway, so here it is scrambled. TwistyTex's brilliant mirrored 5x5x7 shape-shifting cuboid. So how would I approach something like this? Now it's been a little while since I've solved these cuboids, but from what I can recall, basically what we want to do is we want to start off with the lowest order layer of the puzzle. So in the case of the 5x5x7, it's the 5x5, which means all I've got to do is a 5x5 solve. And because it's a shape-shifting cuboid, which is just a bandaged version of a higher order cuboid, all of my 5x5 moves should be available to me, no matter how much they're bandaged by moving one layer into another. So really the first part of the solve is this guy, is like this. This is a 5x5 mirror cube. This is now mass-produced, but this is not the mass-produced version. So you can see that it's every layer that you turn it looks like it's shape-shifting, and it is shape-shifting, but not because you're moving one parity into another. So so basically the first solve is doing a 5x5 mirror cube. So what we will do is do scramble of this because it's really the same thing. So the first thing I'm going to do when I solve this is I'm going to solve it like this. Okay, so there you have it. It's going to solve like that. But in order to solve this, which is the first part of solving this, is I have to reduce this. And what I reduce it to is I reduce it to a 3x3 mirror cube. So this is a 3x3 mirror cube. Now remember, one of the ways, and the most common way that we solve these puzzles is by reduction. So there is a sort of a step ladder approach, a stepwise approach to knowing how to solve these ultimate shapeshifters. So here's a nice little family tree that describes how to solve this. Now, to solve this puzzle, in addition to these three, there's actually one more puzzle that's hidden within this that is important to know how to solve if you're going to solve this one. So can you think of what that is in terms of how the 5x5x7 will eventually get reduced to? So you have to know how to solve these. So within this puzzle are these two, but there's one more puzzle. I'll see if you can figure that out. But in any case, so the first step would be reduction to this puzzle. So reduction is going to be doing it center by center. And I guess the way that I would do it with both of these is, instead of doing it by color, find which center is poking out the most and just start solving it based on that. So first center. Okay, so there is center 1 and now center 2. Luckily I have middle pieces to guide me, so I'll just do the largest one. Now the way I'm doing this is, notice how The polarization of this looks a little bit different, and that's because the grading is a little different. So this is the right piece, but it's in the wrong place. So there's not exact equivalency. So if I turn this up, bring this down, move this over to here, bring this up, and move this down, now the polarity looks the same. So we do the next center. Okay, so center number 2 is done. This is just by normal reduction, so now we're just going to continue center number 3, and that's center number 3, number 4. Okay, there's the 4th one. Now we're down to the last 2 centers. Okay, so all the centers are reduced. So now we're going to do the same thing with this guy over here. Reduce the centers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the largest center, which is the easiest one to pay attention to, which is this one over here. Now this one doesn't have those gratings that this one does, so I don't have to worry about positioning, which will make this go a little faster. It's less of a super cube. So this comes up over here. I usually do it kind of layer by layer here. And move this down here. So I've got this layer in. I'm going to now move this one in as well. So I'm going to take this out and just move others in that appear to belong with it. And that's going to be, looks like maybe this guy over here, sure. Then I need the central one, which I won't find here. And I might, no, I won't find here. I must find it over here. Okay, move this like so. And I'll just move this down. Okay, so this stripe is in. Move this in. Find the other stripe here. These 2 are already in. I can tell because they're coming out at me the most. And I'll find the other one that comes out at me pretty well. There's only one left, which is this guy here. Okay, position it. Move this down. Put it in place. And just like that, the first center is done. Boom. So now I'm going to go ahead and get the centers that's all around it. I don't have to try to figure out which center goes where. There's this guy here. And this is much faster than I did with this because I don't have the gratings that cause polarization of the light. Alright, so that's good there. So now I'm going to match this guy, which is going to be to here. What I like about TwistyTex's puzzles are, it's almost like a meditation because they move so slick, so smooth. Okay, oh, this one's already in, look at that. Okay, so suddenly the second center is done. So the next one that comes out at me is this, and this is already in. So what I'm going to do is match this up here. And maybe it's these guys here. So put this in, yep. Now that knocked one of these out, so I'm going to just take this and move it out like so. Okay. Okay, so TwistyTex's puzzles never pop. Like, ever. So, turn this here, move it around, and turn this back. Okay, now just got to get this guy into here. So move this up, double turn, and move it down. Okay, so just like that, we're on the last 2 centers. And the last 2 is just a combination of sliding U techniques and just other things that can get it in. But what we have is we have this whole stripe is here. This whole stripe belongs up here, and this whole stripe belongs down here. So this is going to be easy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to double turn, move this whole stripe up here, double turn this here, and move this down here. Okay, so now what I have left is one piece that belongs here, and that's this guy here. My sliding U technique means I'm going to move this down in the middle, slide the U to the right or the left, doesn't matter, do it to the left, down on the left, slide it back to the middle, move it back up, that reconstitutes this, move this back, slide it back to the left, move it back up. Okay, so just like that, all of our centers are reduced. So now this looks the same as this, which now, well, doesn't quite look the same as this yet. Because what we're ultimately doing is reducing both of these to a 3x3, a 3x3 mirror cube. And then what's left after that is the other puzzle that's needed to solve this. So we reduce it to a 3x3, solve it as such, but we're still going to have another puzzle within this puzzle. Okay, so the next step is edge reduction. So this gets pulled down to match up, bump it out of the way, move it down, bring it in, and bring it up. So now you can see this is reduced. I'm just going to reduce all these edges. Okay, so this is a fully reduced 5x5 mirror cube. You know, it's also called a bump cube, but it basically looks like this. So we're going to do the same thing with this, and it's exactly the same technique. So I'm still doing the 5x5 solve in our 5x5x7, and so these two are already lined up, so I can try to find the other one that belongs with that. Might be a little bit harder to find. Some of them are closer, so I'm going to look at something that's right flush with the centers that has a long side over here, and see what qualifies. So I know that this isn't, because this is flush with the center, this one is not. This one also isn't, so I'm not going to waste my time. But this one might qualify, because they're both flush with the center. Move it down, and I find that that's not the right one. So there's one that's here that might be a contender. And I say that because it has a long side and a short side. So when I bring it down, I can see it's not correct. So this is really what it comes down to. It's not with that one either. Is I'm just going to keep searching until I find something that fits. Move this down over here. Okay, so this fits. Bring it across, pull it down, bring it up. Okay, so what I can do is find like the largest ones. That's what I did with this. Find the largest edges, or even the smallest edges. Like this one is pretty small, and see if I can get them to fit. Okay, using 5x5 reduction techniques, we've got all the edges in and all the centers in. So this has become like this, which has now become like this. So we have effectively reduced these to its 3x3 bump form. So the next step is then to do basically a 3x3 solve, and that's done just as you would do, and that's done like any other 3x3 solve, but we use shape instead of color. Now we also have the different grains here, so there's a certain polarity that we have to bear in mind. This is straight, this is up and down. So there's a little bit of a supercube aspect to this. So I'm going to bring this down, turn it, move this to the side, whoop, bring this here and bring it up. So basically that's what I'm going to be doing. So this is in over here, this doesn't belong here. So I'm going to move it into the proper center, not here, but here. And you can see that those lines are off. Okay, so I'm just going to do that, and this will be your typical 3x3 supercube solve. Okay, first layer, now second layer. Okay, second layer is done. Now the last layer, we've got to get across F-R-U-R-I-U-I. F-I, now this is the last layer of a supercube solve. So are these truly in? Well, this belongs here, this belongs here, this belongs here, and this belongs here. And we just finish up this solve. Nothing too complicated about this. R-I-D-I-R-T. Okay, so now there's no parity issues. So this solve should be exactly the same. This kind of bump cube over here. So same kind of thing. Let's find a center that's coming out at us, which will make it easier to find what we're looking for. So this is in, but it's rotated wrong. So I'm going to move this to here, rotate it, bring this up. Okay, so this is where it needs to be. Find the center. This is the correct center, but I see the polarity is wrong, so I'm going to move this down, move it 90 degrees, and now move it up, so I won't run into that same mistake as last time, where I found myself with what appeared to be a parity, but again, there should not be any parity problems with this puzzle. Okay, so this is correct. It's rotated wrong, but I think that's because it belongs here. The polarity is different here, so let's turn this 90 degrees. This is the same. This is pulled up. And that would have worked great if this were the proper edge, but it's not. And what general shape matches this? Nothing that stands out. So we'll just kind of experiment. Oh, there it is. Okay, so first layer is done. Second layer. So these must be in. So we're totally free of parity problems. I shouldn't say we're free of parity. There's parity. The parity just means is it odd or is it even? But there's no parity problems, which emerges from reduction. Okay, so that's now solved, and now we're going to do our bump cube or mirror cube solve with this and see what was the remaining puzzle that was associated with this. Because we're not done after we do this solve here. So let's find the largest one, which is, well, it might be this, but I think it's probably this guy here. So from that I can find the largest edges. So we got one over here, and we've got this layer here that's interfering with it, so I'm not sure where it's supposed to go. I think it might go here, or here, or here, maybe here. Well, we'll try it there for now. Okay, this goes into here, but that obviously does not move there. Okay, so that's good. Now how about this? Where does this want to match up? Does this belong up here? And it does. Whoop. Okay, that's fine. And I think this is the proper center. So now we're going to move. The next one is actually going to be properly placed with this. And I think it's probably this guy here. So let's move him down. Move him in. And move him up. Yep, not a supercube, so I don't have to worry about that. Corners are always fun. Okay, this is rotated correctly, but it's not in the right place, so let's actually find the right place. You? Nope. You? No, close. Leaves only one left over, and you. There it is. Okay, this is in the right layer, but not the right place. So I'm going to say maybe this guy here. Yes. Okay, now what's different is that this has other layers that are just sort of in there. And the first step to these shapeshifters is to solve the base puzzle. Or the puzzle of the lowest order, I should say. Not so much the base puzzle, but puzzle of the lowest order. That ain't it. Okay, interesting. Doesn't belong here, but it does belong in that level. So I would say it belongs here. It's got to. No choice. This might be actually the right one, just rotated wrong, so let's roll this thing over. Now I'm just showing just how good this puzzle moves. Such a joy to play with. Okay, so this is all in. Now we're just going to get this layer here. This belongs here. Does it belong down here? Yeah. So UI, LI, U, L, L, U, F, UI, FI. Okay? That's in. Where do you belong with? Oh, you must be upside down somewhere. This belongs up here, this belongs up here, this does not. Let's find the center it belongs with, which is this one. And I think it belongs with this center here. We are free of any supercube necessities and criteria, so I can just put it in any way that I want. Okay, still working on that second layer. Now, this belongs by the center, but not here. Okay, this guy belongs down here because it doesn't belong here. I don't know how TwistyTex gets it so smooth. How do you do it, Casey? Anyway, so the second layer is done. Now I'm ignoring this layer here. And now we do the final layer over here. This is rotated, it looks like everything's rotated wrong. So we do F, whoop, R, U, R, I, U, I, F, I. There's a degree of stability with this puzzle that's amazing. Even when I sort of strained it by pulling it like this, nothing even came close to popping out. This is in and this is in, the rest are not. So we do F, U, R, UI, RI, FI. Okay, these are all rotated correctly. This is in right. This is in right, so I'm just going to SUNY this. Do it again. Okay, good, 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 and good. Okay, so now we just get the corners in. Now I got lucky because this corner is correct. I'm not sure, I see that this corner is correct also, which means these two must be correct. Now it's a little more difficult to tell because I got these other layers here, but we're going to do RI, DI, RD, RI, DI, RD. You can see this fits in nicely. Wind this around, do the same thing here. Now that was one RI, DI, RD. This is going to have to be 2 to make a total of 3. And that gets us what we need. Now, why did I do this? Well, I did this because now what I've done is I've freed up this layer and this layer, and that's the last 2 layers. So, did you figure out what the next portion of the puzzle is? And the answer is